There we go, 16. Put the hold on. And that's it. You're off the recording. That noise you hear is somebody cutting their grass or hoovering their car. I just watched a clip from the movie Martian called Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons, talk to me like I was a child, Mr. Sullivan, or a golden retriever. And I just had an idea that might be an interesting little sketch to do. Maybe I could wear a suit and a tie. And maybe I could do 2 parts. And what I thought is I'd just do the same type of thing where the worker is telling the boss that the shit is about to hit the fan, but try and do it in a really technical way that actually doesn't make any sense. Just find lots of these phrases and words, buzzwords, and just throw them all in and make it sound like I know exactly what I'm talking about, but in actual fact it's just going to be gobbledygook. It's not going to make any sense. And just do it like that. Why is this guy driving so slow? Well, he's really doing the roundabout the right way. "10 miles an hour, maybe less." Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I like that. I'd have to do some research on what words to use, and this one I'd have to write down, I think. Meaning to do a written down script thing for years. So this would be a good opportunity to put that into practice. And I can totally just do the Jeremy Irons impersonation for the CEO. And I can try and make a point as well when I'm doing it. Like I've kind of done in the other ones, there is some kind of point to them. I can end up with both these guys, or one of them getting laid off and getting a massive redundancy. And a massive pension or something. Even though they've lost billions and billions. Just have to work out the text. And how I'd like to film it. I'm wearing glasses, Mr. Delaney. I'm wearing them for a reason. I'm wearing them because I'm the CEO. Okay, now tell me please, suppressing that you have called me in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I have never missed a golfing lesson yet, Mr. Sullivan. Not suppressing that I have been forced to reschedule my golfing lesson today. Sorry about that, Mr. Been going through the computer. Just an analysis. I've been going through the papers, and I think we got a monumental problem, sir. A monumental problem. Please tell me what you think. I haven't, to be honest. And I don't mind saying this because I'm really too rich to care. A little dude with his hip-hop music. Looking very wild. Jordan. You're select. I'm waiting. Pretty much the entire company is selling this one type of stock. Everything is hanging on this one. And if the price of it were to drop even by a small amount, even by up to 5%, we would be facing a certain amount. But from my predictions, analysis, the price has already dropped by 82%. The price will have dropped by 82% by the end of this week. And that is continuing to drop. Which means we will have bought $2 trillion worth of an asset that come next week will be worth zero. Because of the amount we've bought. Right. Does anybody else know about this? No. Right. find, every pension fund, every social security fund in any country you can find. Give them the best deal you can. Tell them that everything is sound for this knockdown price. They can have money and stocks to reinvest. Contact England. Contact Great Britain. Contact their NHS. Contact Ireland. Contact all of these countries. Sell them everything. You do realize that, yeah, certainly do. And make damn sure you have your lawyer standing by. And the dates and the stamps. I want all this legal by the end of the week. Completely legal. Because these transactions that will not be reimbursed. There will be no sending the products back because of this is not going to be like an Amazon product that you can send back if you're not happy with. This is a one-off. No returns. No swaps. Okay. Of course, after that I will have to fire you for gross misconduct. You'll be fired, of course, just before all this hits the fan. Of course, I'll be asking you to resign before all this hits the fan. But I think we can organize a pretty good package for your redundancy. I would imagine something in the region of 80 million, something in the region of 100 million package. As your redundancy package. Full pension. Does that sound good to you? Yeah. Funny how the morality of the thing just evaporates. Funny how the morality can evaporate. Funny how the morality of the situation can evaporate when the right deal is reached. Yes. Yes. It seemed chilly in the Connemara, and it's fresh, but when you're walking, and that sun is out in the big blue sky, it's very nice in the sun. I was looking back at some old footage and photographs from the past. I happen to have a lot of stuff on my laptop. I went back to 2009. 2009 wasn't even the last decade, it was the one before. It's a strange psychology, is that the word, of of the years. I don't know if it's because you get older or because everything seems different when you go into the year 2000. It all seems futuristic. But 2009, in some respects, when you say it in 2020, it doesn't seem hugely. It doesn't seem that long ago. But if I were to say 1989 and 2000, is that? Yeah, that's the same. That is the same space of time. And I can remember 89 to 2000. 1989, I was goodness me, I wasn't even in the drama centre yet. I would have been in the Questers. I would have been doing all that stuff. And I would have been working, I think, pretty full-time in Arprice. And then if you go all the way from there up to 2000, I'm with Shawnee, okay? We're getting to the end of that relationship, but let's say it's a huge change between 89 and 2000. I've gone through the drama centre, I've gone to Argyle Road, I've been in Sutherland Road, I've been back in Ireland with Martina in Heatherfield Court, I've been with Claudia in her place, I've done many years in the video shop. That's all that amount of things happened in that space of time. That is the same space as when I went back to watch those photographs from 2009. And yet somehow in my mind it doesn't seem as long a as long a sequence. Obviously, for one thing, and this is another thing I found interesting, I was watching some movies we did from 2009, October 2009, in the Connemara Halloween. So it would have been the end of October. I gotta stop talking for a minute. I got some people up ahead. Going up the hill to the old house. Bonjour. Yeah, so I recorded Flo putting the decorations up, and there's something very samey about, that's a terrible word, familiar, something very familiar about the fact that Flo is just doing all the, I'm in the filming and she's taken with the doings again. She's blowing up balloons and putting up decorations and cleaning things. She's always doing stuff. And I'm recording and I'm pretending to be afraid of all the spiders, the plastic decorative spiders. And I'm spinning the camera around and looking at everything. And after I'd finished watching this, I got up and I left my chair and I just went into the main room. And this is kind of weird, kind of hard to explain, but it was the strangest sensation standing and thinking to myself, this is the same place. Because somehow so much time has passed in one way that the video I just watched, and it was filmed on the old Canon camera, which has got it's not even, it's like even before standard definition, it's like it's not 1080p, it's like 620 by 4 something. It's like really old school film. So it looks different than anything you do now. The format, the graininess of it, and also the fact that it was that long ago, that somewhere it seemed like it was a different place. And I looked around the Connemara room, and the great thing about the Connemara, which is a bit like Maraval in a sense that there are so many things that won't change and can't change. It is the same size. The light switches, the fan, the beams of wood across the top, across the ceiling. You know, the window, the door has changed, okay, but the window, the dimensions, they can't be changed. And so I'm standing there in the same place, and one thing came to mind is, it seemed bigger in the film. It seemed bigger, you know, especially the parts of film we took in the bar section. When I'm taking photographs of both of us, and it looks like we're both a bit drunk. But there just seems to be a lot of space. When you're in the bar section, it's extremely narrow. The whole Connemara is very narrow. But it was just strange to think, wow, this is me and Flo being with each other, talking. Flo's teeth are a lot different now. She's had them straightened. My hair, my face, my whole personality is different now than it was then. I mean, the deco in the Connemara has changed. But still, you can go back and you can kind of... I'm looking at what because I was looking at certain walks, places we visited that year as well, and every now and again you see something and you go, God, I remember that. It doesn't seem that far in the past. You know? I can vaguely remember the sensation of climbing down this hill, or I remember those clothes, that bag, whatever. But if in 1996, or let's say 2000, you asked me to talk about 1989 and showed me pictures of the first year in the Questers, or the second year, I don't know, I think it would have seemed like a greater space of time. It's just weird the way. Of course, what this means is that each 10 years gets shorter and shorter. So, providing we're all healthy and, you know, no problems there, then, and if we don't change too much what we're doing, the decade 1920 to 1930 should actually be shorter than any of the ones gone before. It should even be it should feel considerably shorter than the last decade, 2010, 2020. I don't look at it like that, of course, because I'm aware of time, and I'm aware of mortality, and things can change and happen. And so you really don't take things for granted like you would have done 10, 20 years ago. You can't project 10, 20 years in the future without having some kind of awareness of, what could happen. And maybe settling down and being more relaxed about things, again, has that effect on time, I don't know. Again, if you go back the 10 or 11 years before that, let's say 78 to 89. 78 would have been the year I was just going to go into the academy. 12 years old. Time of the safari jacket from the confirmation. Hello, fella. Good boy. The safari jacket, yeah. We can't really get any kind of a proper overview of our own personalities because we're in the middle of it. Subjective, so you can't, the way your mind works on it, it's pretty hard to give some kind of an objective commentary, if you like. You can't compare yourself against the entire system. I say this because the thought just struck me of just how highly I held that jacket. It was one of the most precious things I'd been bought up to that point. And it was a jacket. I didn't even have a suit for that confirmation. I had a jacket. But Buongiorno. Buongiorno. But I distinctly remember how cool I thought that was, just taking this jacket off, putting it in the back, having a pen in the top of the jacket. And we, like I said, can't really be very objective about this. But I can only wonder about my upbringing, and I can, I guess, make some guesses about the fact that although my dad was quite sophisticated in his manner, I'll never really know how how philosophical he was, how, I have a sense sometimes that he was actually very naturally maybe gifted in the philosophy of life. Of course, that could be completely just wrong. They say John is more like him. So, buongiorno. During all of the times when I was like 10, 11, going to the academy confirmation, he was kind of the age I am now. So he had gotten to an older age, so I think he would have, and I mean, his blood. So there would have been some similarities. So I think he was a deep thinker, if you put it that way. He was a sensitive, kind of introverted man, and I think he would have been very contemplative, very thoughtful about things. And he had some heavy stuff in his past, where he'd come from to where he was. I could kind of sense that energy. Although there was nothing he ever spoke. He never spoke about things like that, at least not that I remember. He never wrote a sentence down. He never seemed to have any interest in preserving anything like that, you know, for a memory. But they were kind of simple enough folk, my mum and dad. Again, I'm so, you know, everybody thinks their parents are pretty good unless they've got shockingly abusive parents. You wouldn't think it then, but in general, I guess everybody thinks their parents are the best, you know. Because you don't really have any way of comparing it, your experience against somebody else's. You only had one experience. It's not like you had a chance to go through 3 or 4 different families, although I guess it does happen to certain individuals, foster parents and things. I guess all I can say is that I was always comfortable in my family. There was never ever any abuse of any kind. You can be scared of our dad if he got angry enough, but he didn't really. In general, there was never anything like that. The fact that everything was so relaxed says it all, really. I never ever went through my front door or whatever with any sense of foreboding. And I always felt protected. And content at home. My problem early on was I didn't feel that way outside. That kind of sheltered upbringing is, you know, that was kind of idyllic. But trying to be objective, it was also the idea of having such great importance on a jacket. When I'm sure nowadays, or even back then, lots of kids my age had suits, and they would have had suits even way before their confirmation. And having a suit wouldn't really have been a big deal for a lot of people. It was simple. There wasn't any books on the shelf growing up. And my primary school, there wasn't any classes where you could study art. You know, there wasn't any theatre. God forbid there was absolutely no chance that you'd ever get to take part in film or anything, but back in those days there wasn't exactly cheap cameras and sound equipment around. Sure. But the education system was, I think it was quite a high standard in that it tried to teach us a lot about history and geography, and it was real heavy into maths quite a lot. And when I'd go home from school, we'd listen to the radio and we'd eat. And we only had cakes on a Friday, which was just it was a day I really looked forward to, that particular lunchtime. I think when the music kind of came along, that was the beginning of me finding something else. Elvis Costello, but let's say 78, it was the various Christmas songs is kind of my first memory. And then it would have been Elvis Costello, and then a year or two later it was David Bowie, which changed the way I felt about things. It seemed like just a very simple existence back then. Let's say the decade of the 70s. Just 10 years. But of course the decade of the 70s for me, going from the age of 4 to the age of 14, that was the longest decade. 1970 to 1980. That decade was like most of my life up until that point, so that seemed like 100 years, that decade. And in the 70s in Ireland it was a simple, in our house anyway, pretty simple time. There wasn't a little mono record player for most of the time. There was no tapes. Like I said before, there was no books. There wasn't any interest in anything artistic. I think once my dad may have suggested Zéon Grey, the writer, American writer of westerns, to us. We just went to school. You played outside or you played in the garden. There was golf from the beginning almost. And then we watched what was on TV in the 70s. And that was it. I don't know what my dad must have thought about it all. He was, like I say, if my mother was only in her 30s, he was in his 50s. There was quite a big gap. Hello? How far am I?
Yeah.
I'm just at the old house, past the old house.
Okay. With the red shutter, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll meet you with Tuko.
Okay, come along.
See you.
Right, bye. But he came from a tiny village. He grew up in another era where some of his brothers and sisters died from things that they could probably treat easily now. And he grew up in a small house in a, like I said, tiny village. And he cycled all the way to Carlow at the beginning to the sugar factory, and once he started working in the sugar factory, that's where he stayed for his whole life. There was feelings even with me when I was very young, probably until I came across David Bowie, that I would just end up working in the factory like everybody else. I think maybe my dad thought the same thing, I don't know. He was maybe thinking I'm getting him some kind of clerical job. I don't know if he felt sad about that. I don't know if he ever kind of thought, I wish my children could go on and do better things than I did. I'm not sure he did. I think again, if he was like me and like John, he would have been just totally self-centered. And so his thoughts wouldn't have really been on matters like that very much. And my mother herself was really like a child herself, without any sense of analysing or criticising things. I would think at that point that all came later. I often wonder, would it have changed me too much if I'd been given something like this audio device I'm listening to, which I'm still getting a kick out of at the age of 54. If I'd have been given something like that, and I'm not sure these things were as easy to come by, mind you, back then. And I'm forgetting that there was no Amazon back then. It's funny how get used to Amazon. Just had a flash there. Why didn't somebody check these things? They could have bought them online cheaply. Oh my God, 1970. So, yeah, of course, these things weren't advertised. They weren't on the TV. And we had just, the shops were a shoe shop, a clothes shop, a record shop, a butcher's, a bakery, like everywhere else, and an electronic shop, which sold radios and TVs and record players and things. I mean, you could get transistor radios, and I remember my dad got one of those in a factory from a guy one time. Small little cheap one, probably cost about five pounds at the time or less. And then one Christmas my mother got me a radio, Philips radio, ironically. I have a Philips voice tracer now, but that was a Philips radio, and I absolutely adored this thing. I mean, I just used to listen to the radio at night in bed. That time you could pick up lots of stations on this radio, Luxembourg and England and RTE. It was really cool. I had this big grey headphone you could plug in, just one, mono. I adored these things. I can only imagine how happy I would have been if someone had bought me an audio device like this. But like I said, I don't know where they would have found out that such things existed. My parents had no interest in this, and there wasn't any way of being in contact, even with the advertising, you know. You'd have to go to a shop. There was no, it's kind of hard to imagine. There's no keyboards and no screens at that time, so there's no checking things. So, you know, if the idea didn't come to you, then you aren't going to check, and unless you saw somebody with something, you weren't going to get it, or you saw it in the shops, but you probably weren't going to see these things in the shops, not in Carlow. I would have had to have gotten a brochure, a Philips catalogue or something. God, that would have been. But then there was also the, money at that time was. God, I remember trying to save up to buy records, and it was like there was no money floating around. It wasn't again like now, where I mean, where there was no credit cards. I didn't know what a credit card was till I was in my 20s. There was nothing like that. And any kind of money. I mean, they were dealing in pocket money at that time. Maybe £2 or something for the week. Your pocket money would buy you a bar of chocolate and an apple. That's about all. So, even if you saw something, and back in those days, things were a lot more expensive. They weren't all coming in from China. But just saying, if I'd had something like this, it would have been a very big thrill. And I also thinking, imagine if I'd met someone that had let's say an uncle or something, someone that had a stereo system, and they had all the Elmer Bernstein albums, or all the Ennio Morricone albums. I had like about 3 albums. It wasn't until I was in my late teens, really mid to late teens, that I started being able to buy certain things, albums. Here's Tuco and Flo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, woo, woo. Goo-goo. Goo-goo.
He was like a mad one again in the house. And when he saw me changing, he went downstairs and did the wolf again.
Aww.
You know, like he's very impatient. You tried to call me, no?
No?
I thought I missed your video call, so I tried to call you back, and that's why I'm just. And then I come out and you've got Bernard in front of his garage, sunbathing.
Look at you with your sports cap. You look very trendy.
Right? I want to protect myself from the sun.
I have to take a picture of that. You look very superstar Hollywood
But,
Boulevard.
I'm not sure. Is that protecting me from the? Does it put shade on my face?
Yeah.
Really?
You look very Kardashian look.
Really? And with my ass as well.
Do you want to turn around this way so I can see? The sun is actually. Let me go this way. Stay there for a minute.
That's my ass. It's all excited. I need to tell Bernard that I want to sit outside actually as well. Tuco, stay here.
You want to go which way?
That way.
Yeah.
I went to Intermarché, fill up the tank.
Ah. Okay.
So you've got some cassis. Oh, I left it in the red car.
Excellent. Cassie's good.
In the red car. And where are the keys of the red car? Up in the house. You want to go a bit with him to the river now?
We'll both go.
No, I've got too many things. I've got. I want to do a first coat on the Bernard staff. Top. Then I've got.
Is it because of the way I look? Is it I'm just not good enough?
No, you're very stable. Tuco, wait here. You're very Kardashian man.
How dare you call me a Kardashian?
He's sexy with his little ass. He's trying to change his sex with a girl. Who's going back to the river? Because he's walking in the
Allez!
garage. I need a product for the wood as well. For the stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
I'm telling him that we're looking for a dog house and like that.
Yeah. Wanna go for a walk, Tuco? Allez. Huh? Yeah. Goodbye, Tuco. We're going to go look at the lapin. He doesn't mind as long as he gets to go out somewhere. Look at him. Look at him. Tuk, 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 tuk. Yeah. Good boy. Okay, we're still recording. Must have done at least 30 minutes, maybe more, 40 perhaps. Lots of audio. Like I was saying, see, the thing is, you could also say, if you'd been given lots and lots of stuff, then it might not have been as special, because you just get accustomed to things. And if you'd heard lots of stereo and your mum and dad had just kind of bought you every record you ever mentioned, then by the age of 7 or 8 you just simply would have all this stuff, and there wouldn't be any thrill like you have now when they bought the music system with the radio and the cassette player and the record player and the 2 speakers. That will always stay with me. Listening to Ennio Morricone for a few dollars more and having to go back to school, I think, and being like, oh my God, I don't want to go to school. And it was had to wait 2 hours to come back to carry on the music. That was such a thrill. I had to replay every album again. And they all sounded fantastic. Going from mono to these ones. I'd say I'd love to have that system now. 3-in-1. That's a thought. Talking about buying more junk. I must check on eBay. I'd almost like to have one of those. First of all, they look really cool, I thought. They're all together, they're all kind of built into one another. You get this wonderful big radio dial underneath, and you've got the built-in cassette player and the record player. What I was going to say is I would reckon that that was really, really good quality. I don't think it's my imagination that's making it sound as good as it did. Because back in those days, you know, when you bought things, they were really top quality, a lot of things. They were expensive as well. We were in the age of, I think, kind of proper equipment with really decent materials in it. It wasn't all plastic stuff. It wasn't all really cheap stuff shipped in from Thailand or China that you could get in a supermarket for like 20 euros, like you can now. Back then these things cost a couple of £100, I'm sure. But they were good, they were the genuine article. Proper circuitry, you know, proper stylus, proper heads on the tape deck. I'm sure, I mean, they weren't bargain basement pieces of equipment. So I'm sure it's not just my imagination when I talk about the sound of the bass, and I always remember the sound of the drum from there's a big bass drum in for a few dollars more, and it just vibrated around the whole room. That's fantastic. Good boy. Shall we go across this way? Ali! Ali, to go. Ali! Where are you? Good boy. I love walking around here with my dog. Kind of get used to this. We're doing it for a few years, so it very quickly seems normal, but I always do this mental experiment in my mind, and it's like, imagine if 6-7 years ago you were able to just turn on your laptop and you were able to watch future videos of yourself. Now that I mentioned this, it sounds like I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't actually want to do it now. It sounds kind of scary. But suppose you saw a video of yourself like I'm doing now, walking with the dog. Allez, Tuco. It would seem so kind of cool, I think, and strange, because you'd be seeing yourself in a situation that would seem very different. Now it doesn't, because you get used to it. Good boy. Good boy. Up. I wouldn't like to do such a thing now, in case you look forward 6-7 years, you can move the dial. But there's nothing there. That'd be pretty upsetting. In fact, even if you did see things, maybe you wouldn't like what you saw. Well, that'd be terrible. I'd never want to know the future. I think we're going to go across here, Tuco. Shall we? Want to go down here and get a drink? Huh? Allez! Ta-da! A little drink. Look at that. loo. Shall we go back? I'm going to have to go back because I'm a bit like Flo was yesterday now. I need to go to the loo. I didn't think that would become an issue when I started walking, but kind of is now. I'm feeling the need for a toilet, and unfortunately it's not to pee. Allez! Which way? Which way should we go? Où est le lapin? Où est le lapin? I'm going to head down here so that when I start walking back toward the house, it'll be from the area where I used to fly my drone and stuff. Which I'm going to do again sometime soon. I could have flown my drone the last couple of days here now. The weather has been very calm. Actually, the weather goes from calm to gales. But right now it's like just completely still here. I'd have no problem flying the thing. Yeah. Maybe I could try that. You like to go? Let's go back to Flo, huh? Hey! A 3-in-1 music system that plays cassettes and records. Then I could start buying vinyl all over again, like a sap. I could start paying 20-30 euros. I'm the person it's actually aimed at. I think it's the nostalgic market. Guys like me in their 50s have got loads of money to burn. That's the kind of guys they want to get into FNAC. A guy like me with loads of money who sees this Bowie box set and he thinks I've got to have that in my big house. But darling, you have all those songs. I mean, this is like Space Oddity and Station to Station and Let's Dance. I mean, you never even play those songs because you're kind of you've played them to death basically when you were younger. It's kind of true with me and Bowie. I've played his stuff so much. That the idea of buying a box set is ludicrous. I may play the box set once, but there's actually a fair chance I wouldn't even play it once. There's a fair chance I just would open it up, look at some stuff, put it back in, and then put the box somewhere, maybe to be seen, and that'd be it. That's what I was saying to Flo about the TVs. Kind of the stupidity of buying stuff that you don't need. Buying stuff where the advantage is so minuscule. Ah, boy, it is it's just, what's the word? What adjective could I use for today? A supreme day, splendid day. It's just beautiful. Dead still, not a breeze. Big blue sky. Birds flying around, you can see You can see for miles and miles. You can see all the beautiful hills and the little villages. Even the field I'm walking in has all these perpendicular lines and stuff in it because the farmer was out here with his tractor yesterday. I think he may be going to plant something here. Yeah. Yeah, I need to go to the loo. Yeah, I just kind of realized when I got to the river that I really need to go to the toilet. No, not like you. It's not like a cramp or anything. As I was leaving the Connemara, I was deciding, should I try and go to the loo? And I didn't. I thought, well, I'll be fine. But by the time I was going to come home, then when I got to you, I kind of forgot about it. And I just kept going. And then as soon as I got halfway down here, I thought, fuck, I really want to go to the loo.
It's open now. You can go.
So that's what I'll do. There's Bernard.
You want me to take care of Tuco, or I think he likes his garden. You can put him in his garden.
Bless him. Shall I lock him or leave the door open?
Yeah, no, lock the gate. The gate is great.
Where are you, Tuco? Tuco. Ah, allez. Good boy. Good boy. I guess I better turn off the audio before I go to the loo. Although some of my best conversations have been done from the loo, have you know. Sometimes good ideas can come to you when you're sitting on the ball. Anyway, let's check this. Now the light's still on. Oh, I love this thing. We have... how long did we go? Over an hour? We went over an hour. How about that? An hour and 3 minutes. How did I do an hour? I don't know. Must have been walking slower than I thought. Turn the hold off. And I shall say... good day to you, future people, future Eddie. Have a nice day. Hope you enjoyed this. If you were using it to sleep, I hope it put you to sleep. Adios.